So previously we started looking a little bit at turtle graphics, and before I got really into like exploring and talking about some of the fun things you can do, I showed some really basic stuff, right? So creating the screen, creating a little loop here where I drew out a square and then exiting on click, right? And so I showed some other things too, like how to color the background for this window and, some different things like that. But I do want to go into some more of the basics and thinking about how you can apply some of this stuff, even without all the fancy colorization and changing the shape and all of that. So we made this square before, right? And so, we talked about loops. What if we want to sort of create like a series of specialized commands so we can make the turtle draw things over and over again without having to rewrite it each time? So of course, we want to use functions. So we could say that we're going to define square, and and then that means obviously that these all have to be inside of that. And I forgot my parentheses. There we go. And I think that should be happy now. So if we run this, nothing should happen. Perfect. Because we defined it, but we didn't actually run it. So now, if we actually call square, there we go, Mr. Turtle. Perfect. So we've got a square, right? And of course, that didn't add anything extra, but we could make some changes to this. So maybe this becomes size written here, and so then that could correspond with how far forward it's going to move, and then we could have, square equals 100. And then we could tell our little turtle that we want him to move forward by, oops, my mistake. Turtle dot forward, and he can move 100 away or something, and then he can draw another square, right? So we've got 100 again. So if we run this, he draws one, he moves forward, and he draws another one, right? And, there's a variety of things that we could do with this. This could also change. Maybe we want this one to be a little bit smaller, so 90, and we could have it repeat this whole step again, and maybe this time it's 80, and so on. And so, we can start to create some sort of design without having to produce a whole bunch of different codes. And if we want to create something interesting, we could even kind of change this around a little bit. So maybe it's like, maybe we have a loop that's calling on this square. So maybe like for I in range of, I don't know, 30 or something, and inside of here we call square, and maybe square is actually going to equal I, and then maybe we have well, actually, you know what, we'll just do it like that. So now if we run this, we should get this growing box as it gets bigger and bigger. Now it's just going to be a black square because there's no gap in between it. But maybe what if we did like 3 times I? Alright, so now if we run it, we get this increasing box here. We start to get sort of an interesting design. Maybe instead of that, maybe we want to increase this by a bit more, and we don't want just that, but we also want like left, and we want to make that by, well, maybe not by I at first. Oops, sorry. Turtle dot left, and maybe he rotates like 5 degrees each time. So now if we run this, we can start to get some interesting designs. Start to get sort of this like optical art type thing going on. He's probably getting pretty close to being finished, right? And of course, if we want to change that, this could actually be by I instead, and so it could be a little more variable in how it's going to design it. And each time that it gets larger in the shape, it's also going to shift left by more and more. Now, rather gradually, because it's only increasing by 1 each time since we didn't multiply that by anything, but sure enough, you can tell it is slowly getting there. And so you could create some pretty cool things with this. Now, this is going kind of slow, and you might say, like, hey, like, can this go faster? And it can. You can set the turtle to have a faster speed. But what you can also do if you want, like, let's say that we're not just doing 30, let's say we're doing like 100, and that's going to take a while. We could actually just turn the tracer off. Let's see, let's make a comment. So turn off draw mode, and we can say turtle.tracer is 0, 0, and we can talk about what that means later. And then at the bottom of the code, we can tell it that we want turtle update. And we have to have the update here because we turned the draw mode, the tracer, to 0, 0. So now if we do this, what should happen, let's give it a try, is it should just, there you go, it just finished. We didn't see it draw, there was no delay, it just did it. So that's kind of cool too. So I mean, like, it can be fun to watch it, but if you're like, hey, like, it's taking forever, I'm kind of bored, I just want to see the results, no problem. Just add tracer 0, 0, and then make sure at the end that you have the update. Setting the tracer to 0, 0 basically makes so the screen doesn't refresh, so it might work, it might not, but if you add the update in here, it definitely should work. Now the other thing that we could do too if we wanted to is we could change the speed. So maybe you want it to draw it, but you don't want it to take that long. So we could say turtle speed, and we could add in here different numbers, and you can see how that affects it. So 0 is pretty fast. If we add in like 1, you can see how fast that goes, and that is pretty slow. If we do a 2, what does that do? A bit faster. So it's not really if we go to the documentation on Turtle Graphics and we find speed, let's see, I'm just going to do Command F just to find it quickly. So speed, there it is, and if we click on it, you can see here the turtle.speed and integer between 0 and 10, and here you can see what some of these are. So 0 is the fastest, 10 is fast, 6 is normal, 3 is slow, 1 is slowest. Yeah, so it actually is like slowest to fastest, but 0 is set to have no animation supposedly, although it still was drawing, but that will make it go a little bit faster. It's like it's still doing the steps by step, but supposedly it's doing that step instantly, one right after the other. Not quite as fast as turning off tracer altogether, but still faster than 10. So I guess you could think of it as like 1 to 10 is slowest to fastest, and 0 is sort of like immediate, but still drawing, not just loading everything at once. Yeah, hopefully that helps some. So in my previous video, where I started to introduce some of the ideas of the Turtle module and showed you some of the different things you can do with it, I had a Turtle race program, right? And I talked about, you know, some of the ways that I could improve it, maybe some of the ways that I could make it more interesting, maybe a little bit more exciting. So I have done that. Here's Turtle Race. There's quite a bit more in here. I'm not going to go over exactly what's in there yet. Instead, I just want to run it and show you what I've done. So we'll bring this down. Here we go. So you can see I've already made some changes. I'm drawing out the lane for the turtles to race in. There we go. We've got my turtles. They're moving. You can see they're kind of going different ways. All right. I think white's in the lead. Red's almost out of bounds. Red. All right. Red, you're disqualified. Red, you lose. White is clearly the winner. Let's try this again. That was too easy of a race. Alright, so there's a lot of random values in there. Now, you know, there's some other things that I could do to make this a little bit more impressive still. But you can see just with some of the basic things that I've already talked about, what you can do with the turtles. Is this going to be a closer race? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Orange and red. Head to head. White, you're about to lose. Oh, red, are you going to win? Are you going to go out? All right, red won. And white is, I don't know, screwing up. Just can't stay on the board. Anyway, so there's my turtle run, my turtle race program. If you want to see how I did it, quite a lot going on here. There are some error codes going on down here. For the most part, it behaves pretty well. This seems to only happen if I have the main loop down here, the turtle run loop, to be rather large. If I set this to be pretty small, like maybe like 25, and I run this, so let's go ahead and no, stop. If I clear that and I rerun this, it's not going to go very far. They're not going to like even hit the finish line, but just to show you. Alright, they're probably almost done already. You guys done? There they are, they're done. Alright. So if we look, we have no errors down here. So those errors are happening somewhere off the screen. When the turtles get outside of the window, at some point or another, it's hitting some errors in there. So I'm guessing they're just going out of the program's bounds or something, and it's kicking out some errors. But at least as the user, I didn't see that. I only saw that down here and here. So as far as the user's concerned, everything worked great. I didn't use any sort of detection or any sort of checks to figure out where the turtles are, to let the program know to, like, hey, like, maybe, like, have this turtle stop doing stuff if he gets too far out, to help reduce those errors. So I could try to add something like that. So I think that's the issue.